Welcome. Greetings. Another evening of spiritual warriorship. Hope everybody's ready for the battlefield. We are discussing spiritual warriorship from the book Spiritual Warrior Books by His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. And my name, in case you didn't know or forgot, is Mother Indrani. As I've said many times, Bhakti Tirtha Swami has 6 spiritual warrior books with tremendous information in all. Tonight we will be discussing from Spiritual Warrior 2. We've been there a little bit, and we'll do a quick review of what we've covered. And we're going to begin tonight discussing the 17 practices to attain success in the school of love. But we want to understand that, as I said, Bhakti Tirtha Swami has 6 books, and his ideas behind the series of Spiritual Warrior books is really for us to tune into the concept of spiritual warriors, but from a positive perspective. When we hear warriors are battling and all, but we are warriors and we are battling, but our battleground is the realm of consciousness. And he gives these presentations to help us. Help us what? To help us become grounded in understanding who we are as spiritual beings. If you've been here a while and listening carefully, you will know he continuously reminds us we're eternal beings, we're spiritual beings. We're so connected with the Supreme Lord. And then, as you gain that understanding, which we call self-knowledge, we're able to cope with life in trying times. And these series of books are also to help us use what he calls spiritual weapons, and then which can battle the tide of what? Depression, anxiety, and feelings of hopelessness that is sweeping our society. And what are those weapons? First, really, we've been dealing with that for weeks. Love, humility, compassion, faith, and self-knowledge. With these, we can help ourselves more fully and help others. And as we said, our battleground is the realm of human consciousness. And he reminds us that the path of the spiritual warrior is not an easy path. It demands courage, determination, unconditional love, and an understanding that this world is not our home. It's not the final chapter. And we're on a mission. So I hope you're ready to join this transcendental army, or you have already joined and you're ready now to move on. Tonight we're going to be discussing from Spiritual Warrior 2 the 12 practices, and they are found in chapter 6, the second edition of Spiritual Warrior Transforming Love into Lust, on page 162. But before we start, just want to run through, hopefully you all have been here, or if you're just coming in, we've covered so far in Spiritual Warrior 2. Of course, I feel if I was in a classroom, I'd ask you and you'd raise your hands. But I'm going to ask a question in a moment. But we've covered the School of Love, discussed the School of Love. We've discussed what is love. and what is lust. We finished that chapter last week. I want to present a question, and I don't know how this will work, but I'm feeling excited about it, on the chat room. Hopefully it will, on the chat room, will be those who are there for this particular seminar on spiritual warriorship. And if you've been there a few times or regular, I want to put out a question. If anyone of the concepts presented in those sections which I mentioned, did you find it helpful? Were you able to put any perspective into practice or gain any realizations? They're being put on the chat room, because I'm telling you, I don't see the chat room. Whatever goes on there is passed on to me. And I would like you to study those questions, look at them. If you want to put on now, it's quite early, so maybe not everybody is there. What we'll do, we'll start with the practices, and I'll stop maybe after one or two and see if there's any responses. I would like to know what's going on. Okay, although Bhagavad Gita tells us you do your service and your duty and not be concerned about results. So I'm going to present now from Spiritual Warrior 2, Transforming Lust into Love, Chapter 6, 17 Practices for Attaining Success in the School of Love. And what I'm also going to be doing is going back and forth in the book. Some of these, he gives a commentary with each of these, and then I realize on some areas he gave more, and it doesn't do harm to hear it again, or to really begin to listen, so that we can become strong spiritual warriors, know who we are as spiritual beings, and allow the love to express and the lust to die down. So he says, opening, excuse me, in developing meaningful relationships with members of the opposite sex, we must become whole human beings who have no need to look outside ourselves for solutions. Instead, we must learn to turn within ourselves and connect with higher spiritual realities. How do we make this connection? The following 17 points and practices, which summarize much of our discussion so far, offer guidelines for attaining the wholeness that can serve as a foundation for a strong, enduring relationship with a partner. Doesn't that sound exciting? So let us begin. Those of you, if you have the book, as I said, it's on page 162. Or if you even have a bookmark, we have a bookmark that has these practices you can follow there. Number 1, love is necessary for good physical and spiritual health. I'm sure many of you would agree with that. We've been through, and you've been out there, you've heard this. I want to read what he says on page 145, if you're following me, because as I said tonight, we're going to be moving back and forth, and questions are going to be asked, but this is a very intriguing subject, and hopefully we can, as I say, hear and study and imbibe and become strong, wonderful, loving beings. He says in 145, the introduction to chapter 6, love is necessary for good health. Someone who is not part of a loving relationship is 10 times more likely to experience chronic disease and 5 times more likely to have a mental breakdown than someone who is. Obviously, love is not just an essential element in higher spiritual experiences, but it is also a fundamental necessity for physical survival and well-being. And I found 2 articles. They say if you want more information, you go to the internet. And I'm sure most of you, all of you, can agree with that statement. But I just want to read a headline. I found this statement in an article called Love Provides Good Health. And it's an item from Smart Marriages Archive, December 12, 1998. It studies link love and intimacy to good cardiovascular health. That's good heart health. Just want to read a bit of the research. It states, researchers at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland asked a simple question of 10,000 married men with no history of chest pains or angina. Does your wife show you her love? Those men answering yes were found to experience significantly less angina, chest pains, in the next 5 years than husbands responding no, despite such negative indicators as elevated cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, and electrocardiogram abnormality. So that's one, and I'm sure, as I say, if you did research, you would find one other article. The headline is, Why Love is Good for Your Health. And the subtitle is, Love doesn't only keep us happy, it fights disease, boosts immunity, and lowers stress. And we've been getting the highest in understanding what that love is, what love is. And it's also mentioned that if the mind is satisfied by feeling love, it supports a healthy body. All right? Okay. Excuse me, a little scratchy tonight. 2, second practice. Love is not a business arrangement or a contract with an accept clause for difficult circumstances. Let's read his commentary on that. He states, we should not have this attitude or mood with our partner, and surely not with God. We cannot approach the Lord in a mood of bargaining. You know, oh God, you do this for me and I'll do this for you. No. And we should not begin our meditations and prayers with a long shopping list. Prayers of this nature are not based on unmotivated, unconditional love and do not help us develop the higher consciousness necessary to make us whole. We do not have to remind God of our needs. The more we accept the fact that our lives are always under God's control, the more we accept the fact that our lives are always under God's control, the more we understand that true prayer means thy will be done. When we can sincerely offer such prayer, we are becoming more integrated beings. And I have a mark here. He spoke about this, and if you've been following us, that comes in the chapter of What is Love. Let's do a little reminder. As I said, this is going to be back and forth. This is like being in the classroom and being on TV. But we can work together with this. And sometimes you have to hear it again. Because the more you hear it, then it's easier to accept. You notice he said, when we can accept. And in this material world and with all the other things going on, sometimes we forget. And that's really our problem, why we're not feeling the love of God, because we forget that God's love is there. So let's see. I marked page 53. Practice 2. Okay, remember in What is Love, he says, love has nothing to do with exploitation. It is not a business deal or an accounting system that requires the actions of one person to be balanced by those of another. Talk about love, genuine love. Remember, he used that expression, genuine love. Instead, love expresses genuine concern for the well-being of others. This is difficult to understand in our gimme society, which assumes that people always have ulterior motives for their action. Let's go a little further. We often settle for security relationships, which operate like a business. You satisfy me, and I will satisfy you. Unfortunately, as soon as a disturbance arises in our contract, we are ready to seek another relationship. Ultimately, real love has nothing to do with what somebody else says or does. It's based on us. It's on us, not the other person. We spend a lot of time pointing fingers. Your fault. It's on us. He says it is based on us, not on the other person, and is an expression of what we are, what we have, and what we can share. That's why, if you've noticed with this, he mentions self-examination. go within. We have to know what's inside that's projecting out to our situation. When we love someone, we want to do something for that person. If we really care for our husband, our wife, our child, or our friend, we will be excited about each opportunity to serve. And once we have rendered service, we will become even more excited. Why? Because we will be happy to know we have been able to assist. Whenever a difficulty arises, we will be eager to do something for our beloved to demonstrate our care and commitment without expecting anything in return, unconditionally. So that was commentary on the second practice, which, repeat, love is not a business arrangement or a contract with an escape clause for difficult circumstances. Okay, number 3. Oh, by the way, are there any answers to those questions? No, it's still posted, okay? We posted some questions at the beginning of this reading. If anyone cares to ask, who's been coming and hearing. Number 3, love is a decision that we can personally make at any time and under any circumstances. So no matter what some other person is saying, no matter what the situation is or the circumstance, being a loving person, giving love, sharing love is a decision we make. Again, it's not about pointing. It's a decision that we personally make. And 4 is love is learning to love our true selves. Commentary. Those who do not care for themselves cannot love others. Those who do not care for themselves cannot love others deeply. The first love affair we must consummate must be with ourselves. And he's not talking about an ego trip here. Oh, I'm the greatest. No, listen carefully. One aspect of self-love is to observe 4 basic principles. No drugs or intoxication. No gambling. No illicit sex. And no meat eating. All these indulgences can weaken our basic constitution. The more we allow ourselves to live according to natural law, the more surrendered we will become to the will of God. If we lack self-esteem, we are refusing to see ourselves as children of God and do not have sufficient love and devotion to share with anyone else. Quite a bit in that commentary, isn't it? Well, there's some more that I want to share from his writings in the book on that same subject. It's in the chapter 6, page 148. And it's entitled, Loving Others Means Loving Ourselves. He states, we obviously cannot heal the world if we are too wounded ourselves. It's like the blind leading the blind. The first love affair we must successfully consummate is with ourselves. No one has the power to make someone else love him or her. No one has the power to make someone else love him or her. But each person can always give away love. What did we get in the School of Love to just understand that statement? Because this is chapter 6 and that was in the introduction. Remember his statement there? We are spiritual beings and the soul is made for love. We're made for love. It's there. And we can give it. As we have already said, love is a decision that we can personally make at any time and under any circumstances. As we draw upon the divine energy of God, and as we really love Him, then we can authentically love others. As we draw upon the divine energy of God, and as we really love Him, then we can authentically love others. We should not expect love to descend on us like an attack of epilepsy. Love is really the energy of the soul. And what did we say? What did we get in the introduction in the School of Love? The soul is made for love. So, we'll repeat that. Love is really the energy of the soul. And we're all souls. We wouldn't be breathing, seeing right now, and hearing this if the soul wasn't there. We'd be dead bodies. And that soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So love is really the energy of the soul. Therefore, when we are asking for love, we are asking for a connection with the soul, which is part and parcel of the Godhead. When we are asking for love, we are asking for connection with the soul, which is part and parcel of the Godhead. Therefore, real love between partners is the hunger and energy of the soul trying to connect with the Lord by trying to connect with another soul. When a man and woman come together, they fulfill their purpose by reminding each other how to dive deeper into the bliss of the spiritual journey. Let us remind ourselves that we are always in love with God and the whole creation. We have just allowed lust to cover this truth over. What a reminder, huh? What to think about. Okay, that was practice number 4. Any questions at this point?
No questions, a couple comments.
Okay, comments?
Let's see, I asked, one of the questions I asked was, what have you heard that has particularly resonated with you? And some comments are, that it's been inspiring to hear about walking in love towards those we may not feel like loving. Bhuva Mohan Prabhu says that it's inspiring to him to hear that love is synonymous with service to God and nothing less than that.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. It's good to know somebody's out there listening. Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of you out there listening. I just have to learn not to be concerned about results. And I'm giving what I have to give and have been led to give. Okay, so we did, the last was love is learning how to love ourselves. There's a little more on that Bhakti Tirtha Swami spoke about. He says, okay, yeah. In the same, loving others means loving ourselves. He says, people who do not love themselves cannot love others. Anyone looking for a mate should ascertain whether the potential partner has a healthy sense of self-love. People who behave destructively toward themselves cannot love others, and they carry their negative feelings into their relationships. How can such a person make a deep connection with someone else? In particular, people who engage in obviously harmful activities such as taking drugs, becoming intoxicated, compulsively gambling, or indulging in illicit sex are doing a disservice to themselves and will share these degrading habits with others. A profound, loving relationship with such a person is not possible. If we believe anything to the contrary, we are indulging in wistful thinking. Individuals who lack self-love cannot share deeply with others because they only have access to the most superficial aspects of themselves. We must keep our eyes open when seeking a partner. If we are frantically searching for someone, we are likely to paint our own images on anyone who comes our way. The object of our fantasy will appear to possess the most wonderful qualities because, after all, we painted the picture. I'm sure many of you know situations like that. Oh, I met this guy the other day, and he seemed so polite. He just seemed, and of course you met that same person too, and what you're hearing from this one, it's like, he's what? Oh yes, he just seems so, and he's adorable, and he's what? You know that. But what has happened? Poor thing, she, or sometimes even he, oh, I met this girl, and she is fine, and she said this, and she just seemed, and somebody else will say, huh? What? But that's because when you're in a frantic situation, you're not taking the time. And he says here, we must keep our eyes open when seeking a partner. Because if you're frantically seeking, the first one you meet, you're going to put the things on them that you painted for the type of person you want. He says, in most such cases as that, we fall in love with our own conception rather than genuinely caring about the other person. How could we ever be so foolish? Actually, it's very easy. Unaware that our actual wholeness is accessible internally. There he goes, reminding us again. We simply find someone who outwardly conforms to our idea of an attractive person and use that individual as a screen upon which to project our fantasies in the form of hopes, fears, and desires. This process of externalization and projection usually lies at the origin of romantic love. And the romance endures only as long as the illusion remains intact. Often the relationships disintegrates because the person is not at all what we anticipated. We may initially conclude, oh, I'm in love. This is the one I have been waiting for. That's that Bollywood is Hollywood, huh? Yeah, you see it all the time and you wish, oh, I wish that'll happen to me. I'll find him, But what he says is, after some time, we realize we are merely intoxicated with our own ideas, which prevented us from acknowledging what we really knew all along, that this person is not the one for us. Now that went along with practice number 4. Practice number 5. Any questions on that or comment? No. Okay. Everybody's understanding this thoroughly and just ready. Thank you.
Well, actually, there's kind of... So, I asked Buva Mohan Prabhu, let me go back up and find this here. So he said that he likes hearing that love is synonymous with service to God and nothing less than that. And I asked, has that somehow personally inspired you or your sadhana, and have these points brought about any change that you'd like to share? And he said, actually, it makes him want to chant more than 16 rounds. And I brought up the point that I remember reading in Black Lotus, that Maharaj would rise before Mangalarti, finish his rounds, go to Mangalarti, and then chant another 16 during japa. So
and that used to make people angry too. Yeah. We have a great example to follow. But it's great what you're hearing and what you're practicing inspires you to increase in your spiritual life. Okay, number 5, the 5th practice. Love is about a quest for wholeness, and if necessary, having a partner to share one's wholeness with. Commentary. People who think that some other person will make them complete, or people who are waiting for love to come their way, will remain impoverished and waiting. People who think that some other person will make them complete, or people who are waiting for love to come their way, will remain impoverished and waiting. The more we become loving and whole, the more we will draw similar connection from the universe. Number 5, that was. And I found he made some statements on that on page 150, chapter 6. We're in Spiritual Warrior 2, Transforming Lust into Love. He says here, when two incomplete personalities come together, the result is not wholeness, but greater frustration. Two needy people cannot make each other happy. They're too busy trying to find fulfillment for themselves. When we become too desperate about anything, we should be careful. As long as we believe that someone out there will make us happy, we will never be successful in any relationship. I think in the Bible there's a statement, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all else will follow. Seek ye first the God within. We talked about that. It's called the Holy Spirit or the Super Soul within. And then what is needed to be in our life will be there, as he said earlier, when we can say, thy will be done in prayer. When we become too desperate about anything, we should be careful. As long as we believe that someone out there will make us happy, we will never be successful in any relationship. But when we gain access to deeper layers of ourselves, we attain more of our natural harmony with nature and with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we become more complete and have a greater balance of masculine-feminine energy. Two whole personalities who come together, two whole personalities who come together have the opportunity to develop a strong relationship. They're not excessively dominant or dependent, nor do they manipulate each other to shore up their own insecurities. Such people do not behave like beggars, looking for somebody to rob or to perform miracles for them. Two whole personalities. Even if they ultimately fail to attract the partner, they will not feel lost because they appreciate everything that the Lord has done for them. Instead of trying to acquire something for themselves, they will want to share their wholeness with others. In such a state, they come to resemble, in their own small way, the reservoir of divinity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who radiates love to everyone. Remember when we talked about the qualities of a spiritual warrior, that this path is not easy. It means courage, determination, and practice of what is given so that we can feel the fulfillment of God's love, because that's why we're here. We did a whole section on the human form and the human body and why we're here. Okay, we'll go to practice number 6. Any questions on that one or comments? Okay. Love, number 6. Love is not about two desperate people who are trying to find fulfillment for themselves, coming together to rob each other. Two extremely needy, selfish people coming together cannot make each other happy. They're too busy trying to take and get something for themselves at the expense of the other. And we just read through that and heard about that. So we need wholeness. We need to know who we are. We need to know that the Lord is there in the heart and the love is there. It's dormant. We need to reawaken it. And as we reawaken it and accept, as he said, that the soul is made for love. And each person has that same Holy Spirit and super soul in them. And we begin to give, we will see and get back in return. Next practice. where I'm stopping at 7. Love is a holy relationship in which partners come together to serve and reveal their weaknesses and strengths for betterment. Love is a holy relationship in which partners come together to serve and reveal their weaknesses and strengths for betterment. Okay, what did I do? I need that other page. Just excuse me a minute. Oh, okay. There's a question? Good. Okay, I'm ready.
R.T. Devidasi.
Who?
R.T. Devidasi.
Where is she? Did she say where she is? Okay, what's her
She said, how can people wait for love?
Wait. We've just heard what happens if you become frantic and rush out to get love. We have just heard that the Lord knows what we need and we may not get it at the time. Wait for love means you're not just waiting for somebody to come to satisfy you. You, as he's been saying continuously, we must go within. We must make connection with who we are. And we must take that relationship to the Lord. And as time moves along, as we're feeling the love for ourselves, the love for God, we will attract someone. And we may have to wait until we have, because God sees what's going on inside. He knows what's there for us. And if we're still maybe on the mental platform of I need somebody to do this for me, or I need somebody for security because I'm not, you see what I'm saying? It may not happen at that time. He wants to feel your sincere love and appreciation for him and yourself, which is part. So if you wait patiently on the Lord, I think it says that somewhere, wait on the Lord. But you wait on him by serving, by having spiritual practices, by reading about him, if you chanting, and knowing that he knows what you need, when you need it, and when's the best time. But as we've been saying, it's about having a sense of wholeness. And that wholeness means you have a connection with the Supreme Lord. Has that helped? Because he says here, even if you ultimately fail to attract a partner, do not feel lost, because you appreciate everything the Lord has done for you. So an attitude of gratitude. See what your situation is now. See what's going on in your life. See how you're loving yourself and loving others, your siblings, your co-workers, and loving from a place within, a sense of knowing that they are God. And the more you give and share, as you give, so shall you receive. Okay.
This is from Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Oh, thank you for being there. I hope that was helpful. If not, you can ask more. Okay. Oh, I'm reading 7. Okay, let me say it again. 7 practice, the 7th practice. Love is a holy relationship with partners, which partners come together to serve and reveal their weaknesses and strength for betterment. In an unholy relationship, everyone especially hides their weaknesses. Such people are normally interested in erotic love or lust. rather than responsible, selfless love. And I have a note of where he talks about this some more. Page 158, Spiritual Warrior 2, Transforming Lust into Love. Page 158. Now, where did I have it? Okay, we're talking about love in a holy relationship. I must have marked it here. Okay, this is in a section called Offering Everything Back to the Lord. This may even help with that question. When we understand that God has given our partner to us, we ask ourselves, now you're waiting, but just think about this. If you've ever had a partner or waiting for one, can you see it in this perspective? This is important. When we understand God has given our partner to us, we ask ourselves, is God happy with the way I'm treating his daughter or son? Such an approach gives us more strength to tolerate difficulties in a relationship. When a problem arises, we may think reflexively, that was an insult. I'm angry. And that happens in relationships. But if we remember that we are caretaking for the Lord, we can move beyond our disturbance, interpreting the perceived insult as a cry for love rather than an attack. And again, this comes back to the essence of what we're saying, knowing who we are as spiritual beings, knowing we are soul and a soul made for love. And that soul is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And that soul in Bhagavad Gita tells us that the soul can't be cut, it can't be shot, it can't be drowned. That soul is eternal. And an eternal soul that can't be damaged in any way, it's always there, then it can't be offended and get so upset. Yes, we have that little bit of ego. How dare you talk to me that way? But if you've been practicing spiritual practices and really endeavoring, you'll hear yourself and you'll catch yourself. And then we remember that we're caretaking for the Lord and we can get beyond the disturbance. He says, as we offer everything back to the Lord, we will discover many keys to make our relationship work. If we're unwilling to look for these keys, all the seminars, workshops in the world will not help. Theories are meaningless if we do not live from the heart. Book learning does not work if we do not seek a deeper understanding of the individual, the human condition, and eternal spiritual truth, self-knowledge. We must get self-knowledge, study spiritual books, associate with spiritual people, have spiritual discipline, reawaken the love of God within, give it to others and yourself. He says, problems in a relationship are wonderful opportunities to discover our level of caring for another person. There's that word again, opportunity. Wonderful opportunities. And it's hard to grasp that when it ain't going the way we want it, or that other person is being kind of obnoxious. But we have to again use the weapons of a spiritual warrior, which is humility and compassion and tolerance, and be mindful as to what that person may be going through to bring out that behavior. And it may just be a cry for love. We have not been giving the love that they would like or feel they need. Such situations can test, use that word again, remember, test and challenges, opportunities, can test our willingness to be committed, honest, responsible, and accountable. Those are some powerful qualities. Unfortunately, when challenges arise, one of the pair may start looking for an escape route, and the partnership gets shaken. But when we hang in and resolve difficult issues with our partner, the love increases because we have remained true to each other and cooperatively triumph over adversity. And I just want to say that takes me back to where we talked about being whole. It has to be two whole people that can work through this. If it's not, two needy people will not even be able to have this concept. So it's about wholeness, whole personalities. Then you can work through like that. He says, God-centeredness is essential in a relationship. God at the center. When we think we are proprietors, we cling to our money and other possessions. But when we understand that we are servants of the Lord, we realize that everything we have is actually a vehicle to allow us to offer our love back to God. When we understand that we are servants of the Lord, we realize that everything we have is actually a vehicle to allow us to offer our love back to God. This realization encourages us to become extremely loving and attentive because what? Because we know that we are caretakers on behalf of the Supreme. He says, a relationship is an arrangement made by God to give us the opportunity to reciprocate His love for us. Oh, one more time. This is some powerful material here. A relationship is an arrangement made by God to give us the opportunity to reciprocate His love for us. As we care for a husband, wife, or children, we gain the motivation to offer them the best of ourselves. even beyond what is necessary, because they belong to God. Our children are not ours alone. They are children of God. Our mate is not our property either, but it is a representative of God. And I'm going to stop there tonight. It's so profound, and to hear it, I couldn't believe I have read it this week, read it a year ago, read it, and each time it reinforces the desire to reach that platform of accepting the supreme Godhead and keeping Him in the center of everything in our life. Because everything is coming from Him. He said it, and we've read it in many pages. God arranges and gives us opportunities. So I hope you have some wonderful opportunities this week, and you'll see the wonderful arrangements, or you see the work you have to do on yourself. It's all right. That's what this is all about. It's not about an entertaining thing. It's about a work. But working at a higher level of consciousness, raising to a higher level of consciousness, bringing God in the center, bringing God in all our relationships, bringing God to our workplace, wherever we are. Spiritual warriors, thank you for your attention. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Comments? Okay, none. Thank you for your attention, and hopefully this has given you some material to work with, and we'll come together again next week. Haribol.
Actually, Stephanie says, thank you so much, Mother and John.
Oh, Stephanie. Haribol. Write to me sometime. Bhuvan, call me up sometime. Anybody else, get in touch. Hare Krishna.